Welcome back to Rules of Engagement. Just went over a little brief segment about this new cool tactic. It seems bizarre right now to you guys. Fake timings with Protoss versus Zerg. White Raw does it great. If you missed that, check it on YouTube. youtube.com/official MLGSC2. But now we're on to our next segment. It's going to be a Zerg versus Protoss game. In fact, the same game. Talking about how Mutas and Swarm hosts have some great synergy. So first we're going to talk about how the Mutas and Heart of the Swarm is a little bit different now. And what is the Swarm host? If you guys haven't played Heart of the Swarm, it's a totally new unit. Has some cool abilities. We'll talk about it a little bit. And then last segment is going to be, or finally we're going to talk about how these two units synergize together to make a coherent strategy. So let's jump into this game. It's going to be the exact same replay. You may recognize it. It's going to be LZ Gamer versus, now we're looking through LZ Gamer's point of view, right? LZ Gamer versus White Raw. There you go. Let's rewind just a tiny bit. Boom. So the new Heart of the Swarm Mutalisk. Talk about what's changed in the Mutalisk. So the Mutalisk now, it's a little bit faster. Not that much, a little bit faster. And it has a regenerating life ability. So that regenerating life ability is really cool. And what it does is it allows the Mutalisk to harass under fire while taking less damage. So as far as uses of the Mutalisk, it doesn't actually change all that much. It just makes them better, right? You can harass a lot more aggressively, take some damage, and retreat, and it's okay. Like watch here. So he's doing some harassment. White Raw had to deal with some units over here. White Raw's army was on the retreat as well. He comes back. And he fends it off. But you know, he can just come right back again whenever he wants, and the Mutas that took damage are already full life again, right? So he can come in here under fire, harass a bit, take some shots. Says, oh, that might have been a mistake. Turn around and run away. He only lost a single Mutalisk. Now, the old Mutalisk, because they were slower, would have taken more damage. And now you've got a couple Pumpkin Mutalisks, right? And Pumpkin Mutalisks, that's the damaged ones, they're not very good, right? Just because you harass anymore, they'll die. But now all of a sudden, look at this. The Pumpkins are disappeared. There's only 3 left now. They're regenerating life. They can come back in and fight. Ideally, you'd even micro the ones that are being focused down backwards. So Mutas are much, much more powerful at harass. Look at this. They're driven away again. There's some hurt ones. They'll regenerate life, and within the next, you know, I don't know, next minute they'll all be back up to full life. You can continue the harass. So Mutalists are now a lot better than they used to be. Now let's talk about another unit, which is going to be the Swarm host. So he's going to harass a Mutas, and he's going to add in the Swarm host. Let's see where he's got those added in. Let's fast forward a little bit till he gets him. He's getting to upgrade. Where are those guys? Here they are, coming out. So the Swarm host is another new Heart of the Swarm unit. While burrowed, it can summon minions. That's this. See, it has no attack. If you look at the bottom, it has no attack, but it summons minions, right? And the minions are called locusts. And they're effective at a long range because you can send the minions forth, right? You can burn a Swarm host and send the minions across about a screen or two before they time out. So they have a very good range to their attack. And in significant numbers, you can just keep summoning them, and it will force your opponent to have detection to kill the actual Swarm host, because they can kill locusts all day, but it's not going to matter unless they actually kill the things that are creating those locusts. So they're a pseudo-cloaked unit, because as long as you kill the locusts fast, you don't have to worry about killing the actual Swarm hosts. But when there's enough Swarm hosts that there's so many locusts that they're actually killing a lot of units out of your army, you've got to get rid of those Swarm hosts. So once the numbers get significant, you need detection to combat them, right? So now we know about these two units. So how do they synergize, right? So one thing is that because the Swarm hosts can attack at range, one of the best ways to defend it, or to beat Swarm hosts, there's a little Dark Templar harass going on. It's, you know, standard PvZ stuff. One of the best ways to defeat the Swarm hosts is by using long-range units, siege tanks, colossi. And so, if your opponent comes in with non-colossi units, they'll see the Swarm host, and if they have any type of support, they'll realize, oh crap, there's all these locusts here, and all the Mutalists that are somewhere close by. I can't fight the locusts combined with the Mutas force. I've got to back away. So I need area of effect damage with the Locust, and I need long-range attack. So I need Colossi. But wait a minute. Mutalists are very good against Colossi. So it's weird, because you want to counter Storm Host with Colossi. If they open Mutalists, they're not going to have Colossi, because who makes Colossi against Mutalists, right? They can't shoot up. So Mutalists are very good against the counter to Swarm Host, which is very, very, very useful. Then the other part is that when you're using Mutas, right, we've seen so many Zergs lose games because they go Mutas and their opponent walks across the map and kills them. And the reason why that happens is because Mutas are very strong at harass, but they're very weak at direct engagements. So you never really want to get into direct engagements. You want to be using these Mutas ideally to harass the third base, right? So he's going to try to sneak around here. In fact, right now he's busy defending against DTs, which is, he's probably overreacting a bit to that, but he really, really wants to get his Mutas across the map and harass his opponent with the Mutas to do some damage. And that means that he's weak to a direct engagement. But the Locust, what you can do, you can use the Mutas to snipe the Observer, and then that'll force the Protoss to retreat from your Locust, and it'll avoid the direct conflicts that Mutas don't like. So instead of having to fight their whole army with the Mutas, all you have to do is kill the Observers, and then the Swarm host can take care of the rest, forcing the Protoss out. So they synergize really, really well. And now what you want to be doing with this is while the Mutas harass, your Swarm hosts play defense. So ideally, if you look at that type of map situation, what you're going to want to have to do with your Swarm hosts is you're going to want to have them kind of patrol a little bit of a varied area. So your Mutas are going to be harassing like back here, ideally coming in back there, or they're going to be harassing from the top here or around there. You know, you're just going to want to harass with the Mutas. Now the Protoss can attack your bases. So the thing about the Swarm hosts is they've got to get burrowed and they've got to summon units before the Protoss army gets to them. So you can't like run into the Protoss army with the Swarm hosts. They'll die while they're trying to burrow. What you want to do with them is you want to find an area where you can go between and block. You can keep uprooting and go to the next path and block their advancement before they can actually come around and attack the next path. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have these bases over here, right? You have, oops, that's not a very good money sign. Here's some more money signs. So this is where you're getting all your money. Let me erase this, actually. Do a little bit better of a drawing. That's how you're getting all your money. What you want to do with the Swarm host is you want to have them patrol between this path and this path. And look how short that distance is, and you can protect all 4 of your bases with that patrol path. And if your opponent wants to attack here, right, and then they see that your Swarm hosts are over there, then they want to attack a different angle, they have to come up around, right? And you see how this section is always longer than this section, right? You can, in fact, actually, you could do with the Swarm hosts is you could really actually just keep them, you could just keep them in even in a smaller pattern there. And since they have such good range, in fact, if you think about the attack range in which they can attack from, the Swarm hosts basically have an effective range of like this. Well, really, they're only bouncing between these 2 spots. They have this whole little like swath of, actually, let's make it a little more obvious. They have a whole little swath of area they actually control. So your opponent, when they're trying to come in from different angles, is going to have a really difficult time. Look how much space they have to walk around, whereas you can move your Swarm host just a small difference and defend your entire territory. So it's really, really strong for defending an area where you kind of have, that's called, in strategy, it's called the inner circle, where you can get to 2 points faster than your opponent can. It's controlling the inner circle. So as long as you do that with the Swarm hosts, right, LC Gamer can keep them here. If his opponent attacks this space he can't defend, that's fine. You can just pull the drones out. If his opponent attacks down this way, he just relocates the Locust right here. And look at how far that is. It's just 1 screen distance, like the top of there to the top of here to the bottom of here. It's 1 vertical screen distance. Whereas the Protoss, they're attacking here. They have to go 1 vertical screen, and then they can either, well, if they go here, you can actually not even go that far. But if you want to attack other places, they have to go a whole another 2 screens, and then like 3 screens, basically. They have to go all the way around. This path, they can get a little faster, but then, of course, your Locust can just move down to here. So it's just like, it's barely any distance at all. So you can always reposition and defend these 4 bases. It's a great map to use as Locust on. Keep them in that defensive pattern. So, meanwhile, you can use those Mutas to harass and to snipe observers. So if you notice, he always has overseers with the Mutas, so he can use them to snipe away those observers. And you can see the Swarm hosts are going to scuttle down over here to defend this base. He doesn't have to put them as far up as he is, but, you know, why not, right? If you know you have time to get them in this 4 position, you can go ahead and do that. It makes it a little bit harder to retreat, but that's okay. Now the observer comes forward. If he can see that observer, he's going to go straight for and try to kill it. Of course, his opponent's going to back away because trying to deal with all this army is very difficult. As soon as he sees that observer, of course, killing the Colossi first. As I mentioned, Mutas are good against Colossi. Colossi are the counter to Swarm host, so you kill that Colossi, kill the observer, and now he can't attack anymore. If you know he can't attack, that means it's your turn to go on the offensive. You can circle around over here, and you can try to attack. Now, of course, he realizes that his opponent might attack again, so he goes back on defense to check this pattern. And these swarm hosts are already being repositioned, right? So he can defend no matter what. DTs are keeping him on a defensive, so that's kind of negating his harass. But the idea is that he's still doing damage, right? He's not doing damage by harassing his opponent, but he's doing damage by killing DTs, preventing that harass, and that's costing White Raw money. And now in his next battle, you can see what he does with the Mutas, very important to Micro. The two threats to the swarm hosts, the Colossi and the Observer. Why do you go after the threats to the swarm hosts? Because the Mutas aren't that great in direct engagements. Your goal here isn't to squash an entire army, because that's what Mutas are weak at doing. Your goal here is to deflect the attack and avoid as much direct engagement as possible, which you do by first killing the Colossi. Boom, look at that. Focus fire on the Colossi. And then look for any observers, right? And you kill those. There's one observer right here. Ideally, he should focus this out and run away right now. Instead, he's like, well, maybe I can fight a little bit, then realizes, you know what? I'm not trading that well. So at this point, I should just go ahead and kill that observer, and then there he goes. Kills the observer. Oh, never mind. There you go. Fine, kill an observer. Kill an observer running away before losing too many Mutas, because ideally you don't want to fight stalkers straight up unless you have overwhelming numbers. So control there could have been a little bit nicer if you just went for the observer, walked away, and harassed down here. But the idea is still there. Is that you snipe the observer, you kill the Colossi so they can't break your swarm host line, and all of a sudden you can do more harassment damage and do just a ton of damage. So right now, he actually should be harassing his bottom base, and that would be game over. The game does go on for a bit, and he keeps using the swarm host Mutas fairly well. Actually, very well. I mean, he's beating White Raw, right? White Raw's very, very, very good at Starcraft. So a very strong game there. An important thing to know is about the idea behind this composition and the synergy. The idea is you use Mutas to snipe the Colossi, and then you snipe the observers, and then you can run away and harass. And they can't attack you very effectively because the swarm host will defend as soon as you knock out those Colossi and observers. And eventually you can just take over the map, keep picking at them, get a lot of Mutas upgrades, swarm host upgrades, which is armor and the range attack, and then you'll eventually just wear them down into basically dust from the repeated Mutas harassment. So it's a cool new strategy. I like the synergy of the units. It looks a little funky combining Mutas with swarm hosts. They don't seem to have synergy. And the reason is because in a straight-on fight, it's still not a strong combination. But again, just snipe the Colossi, snipe the observers, get out of there, regenerate that Mutas life, go onto your ass. And then your swarm host can cover the defense for you from there on out. So that wraps up this segment on Zerg vs Protoss, using the synergy between Mutas and swarm hosts to defeat a Protoss opponent, as you saw LZ Gamer do against White Raw. We'll take a short break and be right back with the next segment, which is going to be a 10 replay, a really cool Widowmine contain strategy against Protoss.